Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever heard of Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Have you heard of Robert Kiyosaki? Have you heard of this life-changing book? If so, definitely check out this video if you want some more tips and takeaways, but if you haven't, then you're in for a treat. So this is a great book. Robert Kiyosaki wrote the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which shows his rich dad and his poor dad and how they think differently and how they thought differently and how that could impact your life. And so if you want to learn more about the rich dad said, then let's talk about the key takeaways so that you can start adopting those philosophies, principles, and actionable steps into your own life. Let's do it. All right, lesson number 1. The first principle is that for most people, their profession is their income, but for rich people, their assets are their income. So it's super important. We've talked about this before, but having more assets and being an owner and getting more investments in real estate and properties and businesses, anything that you can own, the more assets you have, the more wealthy you will be. Principle in lesson number 2, if you want to have more money, if you want to be more peaceful, if you want to be richer and have more time, then if you want to buy an item, you must first generate enough cash flow from your assets in order to cover the expenses, okay? So buy luxuries last, not first. So say you want a new car. You want to have enough assets in place to pay for that car instead of going, oh, how many more hours do I need to work? And just relying on that income from your day job. Now, you totally can have a day job if you want, and especially if you're working towards the journey, maybe you have a day job that funds assets that you want to buy, and then these assets can eventually start paying for the things that you want. And so that's what we're going to talk about more on this channel is how do we get more assets? How do we become owners? How do we get more skin in the game and have more control over our lives? But it's super, super important to make sure that you're trying to generate income from the assets instead of just your job in order to purchase what you want in your life. 3, if you have excess cash flow, this is awesome, but you want to reinvest it into the business or into your assets. And so if you have extra money, cash flow is just more money coming in. Instead of just keeping it or keeping it stagnant, you want to reinvest it, because if you put more into it, it's going to grow. Just like with a child, and if you invest your time, attention, and energy, and you help teach them, they're going to keep growing and keep expanding and keep learning. And so it's the same thing with assets and with money. So if you get more money, you want to put it in to other things that will eventually make it grow. We always want our money to work for us and not just to sit out around, relax, and chill for the rest of their lives. 4, this is a big one that I think a lot of us, especially if we're working on building wealth, can fall into the trap of, is to work on aiming for more income instead of working on aiming for more assets. And so, yes, you do need more income, and sometimes you need income to get an asset. There's so many other ways you could leverage your work ethic and your time, and you could use someone else's money. So it doesn't always have to be through a 9-to-5 or through a job, but typically a lot of people, they'll start with that income and then fund those assets and then move forward from there. But we have to be thinking about not just how can we make more money with our job, how can we make more money from our assets? And so I do think that there's a starting point, and maybe you do want to start with your job and try to increase as much income as you can, but typically your assets will end up creating more money for you. Number 5, you want to keep your expenses low, and you want to keep your liabilities really, really low and try to reduce them as much as you can. And so we talked about this in a video I did recently about principles of money and some of the basics of money. And the first thing we talked about was some of your assets, some of your debts, expenses, and your liabilities, right? And so liabilities are things that maybe you owe money on, and maybe that like your debts, things that you have to spend money on or spend attention on or etc. And so you want to make sure that you have your expenses really low, right? Living below your means. We talk about this. You don't want to have so many things that you need to spend your money on that then you don't have enough money left over, because we want more money to invest in more assets and into more income producing assets and things that can help us. Number 6 is another one that can be helpful depending on your journey, but eventually you want to create a corporation to protect your assets and to reduce tax expenses, okay? An employee earns and they get taxed, and then they spend what is left, right? But a corporation earns and then they spend everything that they can, right? We have lots of tax benefits and advantages for those people who take risks and who own businesses and things. And then they get taxed on what's left, right? And so this is the biggest legal loophole that is out there and that the rich use. And so a lot of people are like, oh, they're rich and they have all these advantages, or why shouldn't they be taxed more and stuff? They just learned the game. Like, honestly, all of this, it's a game. And so you need to learn the ways of the game. Like, what jobs are going to help you lead the game or win the game more? What assets and what do you need to do, like own assets, to help be more in control and to set yourself up in a higher level on the game, right? And so if you want to get to that level and set up that corporation, you are able to earn the money, then you get to spend it on things, and then whatever's left is taxed. And so that's why you can really, really reduce your taxes if you own something and if you're a business owner. 7, another key thing is knowing a little bit of information about a lot. So you want to know about accounting, you want to know about investing, maybe the markets, law, sales, marketing, leadership, writing, speaking, negotiating. And so having a lot of information on, or a little information on a lot of things, is going to broaden your knowledge, and it's going to help you to be more knowledgeable and be able to make better choices moving forward. You don't have to be an expert in one area. That'd be cool if you are, but you want to be like, have a basic understanding of a lot of things, and then also have people who support you, and maybe have a lawyer or a tax accountant or someone who supports you as well. And honestly, an investment in your knowledge is going to pay the highest dividends and rewards. And so I found that the more I started, instead of watching Netflix and instead of just watching movies, or instead of just like going through life, the more I started reading and learning from other people and actually obtaining new information and seeking that out, the more my life has changed. And I can't imagine how much more it's going to continue to change if I keep doing these things. So learn, read, be aware, and get more knowledge into your head. Number 8. So this is critical. You might graduate college, or you might just be working and you're like, all right, let me try to get all this money. I've heard I need money, and I need a lot of money to invest in assets and to build my life. But really, especially if you're just starting out, you actually want to work to learn, not to earn. And so yes, it'd be nice if you could do both, or if you could get more money, but you want to surround yourself with people and companies and places where you can learn a lot of skills, preferably the skills I just talked about, like sales, marketing, investing, accounting, negotiating, writing, speaking, working with people. You want to learn a lot about those things, and then eventually you can make more money, and you can use those skills to make you more money. But you want to get around that type of knowledge, and it will help you to make more money in the long run. 9, it's important to not just like buy investments, actually learn about it. And so I know this was hard for me because people told me to invest, but I had no idea what to invest in. And so there's a ton of information. We could talk about investments and assets. I know if you just want to get in the stock market, just going with a low cost index fund like the S&P 500 or a target date index fund or something like that, then that's going to be a good way to get started. But if you want to start investing in assets or other things, you need to start learning a little bit about it, right? You don't have to be the number one expert, but you just want to start learning about what are some options here and what's going to work best for my family, and what can I actually do. Number 10, you become what you study, or who you study and who you're around. So be careful. What are you putting into your head, right? And so it's okay to have a hobby, like if you're playing Fortnite or whatever, or if you're going out and golfing or whatever, these are good things, and you're building relationships and stuff like that. But it's important to be careful. Like, what are you focusing on? What information are you putting in your head, or what are you not putting in your head? What are you missing out on? And so it's super important to be intentional and to try to learn more information, and to try to surround yourself with good people and people who think bigger than you, so that you can eventually be that person that thinks like that. I know that's really helped me as well, surrounding myself with people that I want to be like, or that have achieved something that I want to achieve. And then that's helped me achieve and get there too, because I'm modeling what they're doing, or I'm being inspired by what they're doing, and I'm seeing, oh, that's possible. Cool. Like, that is something that I really want, but I never knew anyone who did that or could do that. And now, especially with the internet, we have access to these people that are like my online mentors and friends, and I'm surrounding myself with those types of people because that's what I want for my life. And so find those people and start emulating them and start taking action. Action is critical. Knowledge is critical, but you have to put it into action. I love this quote, number 11 from Rich Dad Poor Dad. It says, every rich person has lost money at some point, but many poor people have never lost a dime. Playing not to lose money means you will never make money. Winning means being unafraid to lose. And so I'm going to be doing videos about risk taking and why it's important to be a risk taker, and why risk takers actually end up being more successful, which maybe this is not what you've heard growing up. It's always like, be careful and don't hurt yourself and be safe and all this stuff, which is good. It makes sense, right? Like, our parents wanted us to survive, right? By basic meaning of life, survival and reproduction, right? And so you need to be able to survive and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to take calculated risks, right? And so Rich people, sometimes they've lost money, right? And a lot of them have, but they've also made way more money than they've lost because they took some risk and they were willing to put themselves out there. And we talk about the younger you start, the better, because you don't have as many responsibilities. You don't have as many things that you need to do or people that rely on you or something. But at the end of the day, like, you make the decision for yourself. If you already have a family, but you know you want a different life for yourself, like, go for it, right? It's never too late to start. You just have to work with your partner and work with your family and work with people to figure out what to do and to find a new system to go for your goals and to create what you want for your life. But go for it and build the life that you want to build, and know that you might lose money, and that's okay. Take the risk. Number 12, I love this one as well. Failure inspires winners, but it defeats losers. And so it's okay to fail. Sarah Blakely, I love her so much. She talks about this. This is one of the things she talks about over and over again in her speeches, and that her father, who was a lawyer, redefined for her when he started listening to Wayne Dyer, and this motivational speaker. And he would encourage his kids to fail and say, hey, what'd you fail at? And he was actually disappointed if they didn't fail at something. And so this redefined failure for Sarah, because instead of being afraid to like mess up, and a lot of parents are like, why didn't you win? And why did you mess up? And then it's like, that's actually not helpful to a kid, and that's not going to help them. Instead, Sarah wanted to try things, right? And so she saw failure as not trying. It wasn't that you lost. It wasn't that you messed up. It would be that you wouldn't even be willing to play the game or take the risk or go for it. And so I love this because failure is inspiring. Like, go, okay, cool. That means I'm trying. Even with like haters and stuff like that, or people who are making negative comments towards you, honestly, sometimes that's actually a critical sign too that you're on the right path. If there's people that are willing to try to go out of their way to bring you down or something, you're probably on the right path, which is funny because you're also going to have an equal or a greater amount of people saying, hey, you're doing a good job. But if you start seeing the haters coming around, that's honestly a good sign. And so I welcome them. But anyways, it's just really important to not see failure as this big, horrible thing, or that you're the end of the world. It's so sad. Even I'll see like in playing kickball, it's like, and someone messes up a kick or doesn't make a catch and everyone like freaks out at them. It's like, it's not the end of the world. Oh my gosh. Like now then they feel like they can never kick, and then it takes them out of the game. But it's like, who cares? Play the game. Sometimes you mess up, sometimes you don't. Just like Michael Jordan, there's some famous quote. It's like, I've missed a certain amount of shots that he's made, but he's made more shots than he's missed. And that is why he succeeds, because he goes out and continues on even when he fails. And then he ends up succeeding even more. Number 13, so many successful people talk about this, and I have definitely learned this as I've gotten older. Be in control of your emotions. It's super, super important. We all have emotions. It's a part of being human, right? And sometimes we have stronger emotions if we're around certain people, around certain situations. So be mindful of that and maybe try to get yourself out of some of those situations. But I know in my life, like sometimes there's situations I can't get out of, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this energy and this stuff is not helpful. It's negative, and you can just feel the pain and the frustration and just the pain from other people. And it's like, I feel bad. But you need to make sure that you avoid that and try not to let that get into your life. And so control your emotions. If you feel mad, that doesn't mean you just go punch things, right? It doesn't mean you go scream and yell and freak out. You need to have a healthy coping mechanism and go and have a lens and a perspective going, okay, is this worth it? Like even just certain situations or with friends or something, it's like you might get in a disagreement, but then be more self-aware and be like, is this even worth it? Is this because I'm tired? Is this because something happened at work or whatever? And so just don't let your emotions control you, right? And I think that you will be a lot better off and more successful and happy in the process. All right, so that was a little summary and key lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's an incredible book, and I highly recommend checking out some interviews with Robert Kiyosaki or checking out his book. And with all these people, it doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that they say or think that they're just these gods or these leaders. But at the end of the day, what I love about some of these things is it just gets your brain and your mind to just think a little differently, or to see something from a different lens or a different point of view. And that's the whole point. It's the goal for me is to try to share information to help empower you, to inform you, and to help you make whatever decisions you want for your life, and to see more, and to see the world in a different light, and to see the power within yourself. So let me know in the comments below if this video was helpful to you, if you took any lessons away, if you read the book, if you have any other tips that you want to share with us, definitely leave those below. I'd love to see them, and I love seeing you guys comment and sharing with the community and with other people. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and share with a friend if you think it could be helpful to them, and subscribe for more videos like this on improving your yourself, your finances, your life, and achieving success and achieving what you want in your life and bringing out the best in you that the world needs to see and that you need to see. So thank you so much for being here. You've got this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.